Hi, welcome to Pose Breakdown. Going to have a look at half moon pose today and half moon bow pose. So you might have seen some of these in the videos already, and maybe you're kind of starting to bring them into your practice, or maybe some of these balances are quite new in general. So grabbing hold of a block, this can be really helpful in half moon pose, just depending on how flexible your hamstrings are. So if your hamstrings are quite tight, then having a block just brings the floor up to you rather than you needing to worry about getting your hand down to the floor. And that will really help with balance, so good thing to have. So let's have a little look at half moon pose. So half moon pose often comes off the back of something like Warrior Two. So coming from here, or sometimes from triangle. So legs are straight in triangle and you've been down like this. So it's these kind of sideways standing poses. And basically what we're doing with half moon is we're bringing the body forward and floating the back leg off the ground. So I suppose the important thing to say first of all is please don't feel that your back leg has to come way off the ground. It doesn't need to be parallel with the ground. It's often how it's shown in pictures and videos. It's not where you have to start. So if you're starting with your balances, then just aim for kind of floating that back leg off the ground, even if it's just a couple of inches. And you can absolutely kind of play around with lifting the foot, getting a bit wobbly, going back down, lifting it up. Don't worry if you fall out. So every time you fall out of a yoga pose, you're building strength anyway. So it will get easier and easier. So just keep going and keep practicing and you'll find that it will become to feel a bit more natural. So if you're coming in from Warrior Two or from Triangle, the first thing that I would say is if you're in quite a wide leg position, step that back foot in a bit because that's an easier position to go into to bring the body forward than trying to do it with the back leg all the way back here and then launching yourself forward. It's possible to do it from there, but I wouldn't advise it's the place to start. If you know that your hamstrings tend to be quite tight, then you're grabbing hold of the block in the hand, of which is the same as the foot that's facing forward at the front. So if it's left foot forward, you're holding the block in your left hand, because that's the one that's going to come down to the ground. Now, when we're thinking about where to place either the block or your hand, if you're going without the block, you want your torso to be able to come over the leg and for the hand to end up being under the shoulder. So obviously this is going to be a little bit different for all of us, but you know, kind of about a foot in front of your foot. So sort of 30 centimeters in front of your foot is a good place to begin, and then you can always make it a bit further or a bit closer. And for most of us, you're going to want it more towards the little toe edge of the foot. You can absolutely bring the block to the center, but it will make balancing a lot more difficult. So I would say blocks coming to the little toe edge side. It's coming about a foot in front. And what you might want to do first of all is bring the gaze down to the ground, and then you can see as my weights come forward, that automatically lifts the back leg off the ground. And then what you can do is start to press through the heel of the back foot, and that will help with balance, and bring the body weight forward. So don't be afraid to bring the body weight forward, and you can bring the hand to the waist. And it might be that that's where you start, is just in that position, looking down, not worrying about turning the body, and just having a little play with hovering the foot. So maybe have a little go with that. And that'll help to give you an idea as well of where you want your hand and your block to be. So like I said, if your hand's comfortably on the ground, you don't have to worry about the block. You can just bring the hand down and come in from there. So then we come to opening up the hips. So the idea with moving from something like Warrior Two or Triangle into half moon is that the hips are already facing the side. And so you end up keeping the hips in the same direction. It feels nice for the body to do that, nice and fluid. So once you've had a little go at the kind of the hovering, maybe just on its own, you might want to see how it feels, bringing your block down to then open up that hip. You can still keep the gaze down if you want. So you're pressing through the back heel and you're lifting up the leg and you're opening up through the hip. And then maybe the upper body begins to also turn. You can lift that leg higher, and then you'll find you'll want to compensate with the upper body moving forward. And you can lift the top arm up to the sky. So having a little play here and reaching out through everything, grounding down through the hand or the brick, reaching out through the heel and reaching up through the fingertips. And then you're seeing if you can step back normally into your kind of triangle or warrior two position nice and lightly. So have a little play with that. You might find that one side feels way more secure than the other. So you might try it on the left and feel really good, try it on the right and be wobbling all over the place. That's really normal. So have a little go first of all. Bring that back foot in a bit closer. Block comes down, you're aiming for underneath the shoulders, so imagining where the shoulder's going to end up when you come forward. Little toe edge, because that will give you plenty of space, you won't be wobbling on a little tightrope. And then once that's come down, keep your gaze down, just have a little play with hovering that back foot to start with, don't worry about opening the hip. And once you're comfortable with hovering the back foot, then see how it feels to open the hip. Flexing through the back foot, pressing through the heel. You can still keep the gaze down on the mat. Hand comes to hip, and then maybe you see about turning the upper body, and then very last opening up the arm. So lots of different stages to this one. When we're looking into turning into half moon bow pose, then we're adding on a little bit more. So once you feel comfortable in your half moon, then we're coming in to play in our bow pose. So half moon bow pose basically means that you're bending that top leg and then you're reaching back to catch the foot. And in order to keep your balance, you're really kind of kicking the foot into the hand. So I'm pressing my foot really quite hard into my hand right now, and that's helping me with my balance. So you can either bend the foot and then reach back and grab it with the hand, or you can bend the leg forward, grab with the hand and then pull backwards. So it's entirely up to you. And then to come out, you're opening up and stepping back. So you might find if you're very tight through the legs, getting a hold of that foot feels really tricky. So don't worry if that's not available right now. If you want to kind of warm up for getting into things like your bow pose, then doing things like your low lunge, where you bend the back knee and you reach back and hold on, that's a really nice way to open up the leg and kind of prep for this pose. So that might be a nice way to get the legs nice and warm, make that reach a little bit easier, open up the shoulders, open up the front of the legs, and of course make sure you're comfortable with your half moon, balancing first. So have a little play around, and if you want any more tips of how to get into those, just give me a shout. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this pose breakdown and look forward to seeing you again soon.